To order. So that takes us to section 2, approval of the agenda and any changes. I do not have any changes. Section 3, we will have several recognitions tonight. 3.1 will be recognition of Choctawhatchee High School's competitive cheer team, 2023 Florida High Athletic Association's state champions for the small co-ed division, presented by Superintendent Chambers. 3.2, recognition of Niceville High School's varsity cheerleaders as the 2023 FHSAA state champions in the Class 1A large all-girl varsity division, presented by Superintendent Chambers. 3.3, recognition of Ruckle Middle School cheerleaders, 2023 UCA National Champs Junior High Game Day Division, presented by Mr. Chambers. Section 4, administrative personnel appointments. Tonight we have none. Section 5, public comment, the blue card edition. We don't know that yet. Section 6, committee and staff reports for the workshop only. 6.1, in-county travel, paid for February 2023, presented by Julie Perry, CFO. 6.2, out-of-county travel, paid for February 2023. 6.3, Okaloosa County District School Board audited financial statements for fiscal year ended June 30, 2022.
And good job.
Yes,
Woohoo.
outstanding.
Nice.
Again, I mean, we've talked about it before, but you can't say it enough about how much money goes through in separate hands and from students to teachers to, and
Parents.
I think it's just pretty much short of miraculous that a district can come out that clean with such a great thing, and that starts at the top with Miss Perry, and that shows leadership. It shows a structured way of doing things that everybody knows what to do and they're doing it, and I'm very proud. Thank you so much.
Extremely.
That brings us to section 7, consent agenda. 7.1 will be approval of the agenda. 7.2 will be approval of the minutes of the student disciplinary hearings of March 13th, 2023, the minutes of the workshop meeting of March 13, 2023, minutes of the regular meeting of March 13, 2023. 7.3, appropriation of District 1 School Board member capital outlay funds to Shoal River Middle School for painting the 600 hallway in the amount of $8,132, presented by Dr. White. 7.4 will be appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Florosa Elementary for flooring in the 200 wing in the amount of $15,000, presented by Ms. Ivanchik. 7.5, appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Shoal River Middle for painting the cafeteria and hallway in the amount of $15,909.25, presented by Ms. Ivanchik. 7.6, appropriation of District 4 School Board member capital outlay funds to Shoal River Middle School for painting the 700 hallway in the amount of $8,132, presented by Mr. Bryant.
Madam Chair, if I can comment, thank you to Ms. Ivanchik and Dr. White for helping with that project. I know Dr. Driver has some big plans over the summer to help kind of build up the spirit in that school, and I think it's going to look good once everything's done. So thank you for your help.
And if I could add to that while we've stopped, I just wanted to I was going to make a comment that for the public to see what we're doing here is that they may be thinking, well, you know, we have the sales tax money, but all those items were approved for each school. These are additional things like painting and stuff that would not go under that big umbrella, and so school board members have some capital funds that we can use to help it. And I think every meeting you see that we help every school that we can to do these kinds of things that did not come under that umbrella of the sales tax, renewal stuff and all those kinds of things. So sometimes, sometimes it's actually easier to get a roof done than it is to get your hall painted. And so this is why
Yes,
we help
true.
with that. So I just want people to know that's why. They think, why are you doing all that? But these are the actually kind of small things, but they make a big difference. Like you were saying, Mr. Bryant, sometimes just freshening it up and making that entrance, it's so much better for the employees and for the students, of course, there. So that's to explain what we're doing here.
And that's a great comment. I appreciate that, Ms. Vancheck. And I just add, the public might not be aware that when we appropriate these school board member funds, that the school and the school district goes through the entire process. It goes through the
Oh,
bid
yeah.
process. It goes to through Mr. Wyndham's office in purchasing to make sure that it meets all the standards and requirements of law, just like every other expenditure that
Yes,
we do.
good point, yes.
Yeah.
So that brings us to 7.7, appropriation of District 5 School Board Member Capital Outlay Funds to Destin Middle School for Clear Touch panels in the amount of $4,585, presented by me. 7.8, Budget Amendment Number 6, Fiscal Year 2022-2023, presented by Julie Perry. 7.8, Monthly Financial Statement for February 2023, presented by Julie Perry. 7.10, Invoices to be approved for payment, presented by Julie Perry. 7.11, School Donations, presented by Julie Perry. 7.12, Payroll Warrant Register and Accounts Payable Warrant Register totaling $26,872,289.76. Self-help insurance claims and fees totaling $1,304,067.24. And bank transfers totaling $0 for February 2023, presented by Julie Perry. 7.13, Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and KEV Group Incorporated, presented by Julie Perry. 7.14, Tag-on bid purchase over $50,000, Dell Technologies, presented by Vince Wyndham, Program Director of Purchasing, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval.
Madam Chair, can we go back to item 7.13 real quick?
Yes.
Ms. Perry, thank you for calling. I know you called all of us about this particular item. I'm really excited about the idea of the secondary schools being able to use debit cards at their concession stands and all that. So this is something I know that the schools have been asking for. So Mr. Chambers and Ms. Perry, thank you for making that happen. I think that's going to help, especially people like me who don't typically carry cash anymore. So unless I go to a football game, then I know I'm going to get some nuts from the Nut Hut at the high school at Crestview. So now I'll be able to just get my card.
Yeah, the concession stands at the high school, I learned that the hard way. Had to ask around and get some cash because
Yeah.
I was going to use a card this past couple of months ago. So thank you. I know that our parents have been asking, and our band people especially, because they a lot of times oversee those. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam
And
Chair.
it's middle
Job.
schools also?
Yes.
Middle schools,
Secondary.
middle schools and high schools?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
middle and high.
So 7.15, Tag-on bid over $50,000, Apple Store for Education Institution, presented by Vince Wyndham. 7.16, Tag-on bid over $50,000, Apple Store for Education Institution, presented by Vince Wyndham. 7.17, Underground Distribution Facilities Installation Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and Florida Power and Light Company at Elliott Point Elementary School for the new classroom addition, presented by Dr. Bill Smith, Program Directors, Facilities Planning, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval.
I don't know why, but I got excited about this because I just think it's neat when they start putting the utilities underground.
Mhm.
And I just think it makes sense in Florida with the storms and everything that I wish we could find a way to get them all under there. But this is, I guess, with new construction, they can do that. And I think that's a very good thing, especially at schools. It's going to, I think, mitigate any, if we have damage, that kind of thing, that, or maybe power outages if it's underground. So I think that's good.
And just be more aesthetically appealing.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to see all the lines, and so it'd be great if they could get it all done, but I'm sure that's a massive undertaking.
And that brings us to 7.18, Underground Distribution Facilities Installation Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida and Florida Power and Light Company at Baker School for the new multi-purpose building, presented by Dr. Bill Smith. 7.19, agreement to grant Florida Power and Light Company a 10-foot wide utility easement at Elliott Point Elementary School for the new classroom addition, presented by Dr. Bill Smith. 7.20, agreement to grant Florida Power and Light Company a 10-foot wide utility easement at Baker School for the new multipurpose building. 7.21, self-help project, construction phase 1 of a new pavilion at Destin Middle School. 7.22, summer school programs for 2023, SIS, Summer Intensive Studies, ESY, Extended School Year, and Summer Scholars, presented by Jeff Palmer, Director, Curriculum and Instruction.
I have a question, please, on funding, Mr. Superintendent. I see this is ESSER 3, so we still have ESSER money.
We do.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, could you
no, absolutely.
elaborate?
So we still have ESSER funds, especially for summer instruction, and have different forms of that. You can see the different layers
Yeah.
here, but ESSER funds definitely for summer school, as well as ESSER funds that will extend into the next school year.
Okay, so I wasn't, we've had several layers of ESSER, so, but they're still there for us. That's great.
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
Thank you.
So
And
is the
they-
next school year, I'm sorry, the last year of our ESSER funds?
The last year.
23-24.
Yes, ma'am.
2025, I
Next year.
think, right?
Okay.
23-24.
23, 24.
It's going to be interesting to see how that rolls out.
Even for summer programs, you think? So the money just won't be there?
Will it be there for the summer of next school year? Summer of 2024 as well.
So that brings us to 7.23, Junior Lifeguard Summer Program for 2023, presented by Jeff Palmer. 7.24, Early College Dual Enrollment Articulation Agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and Northwest Florida State College for 2023-2024, presented by Jeff Palmer. 7.25, Community Education Summer Driver Education Program, presented by Brian Humphrey, Specialist, Student Services, Athletics, and Discipline. 7.26, IT Seat Management Outsourcing Agreement Contract Modification Agreement Change Order 20 by and between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida, and CACI, Inc., Federal, presented by Dustin Keith, Specialist, Seat Management. 7.27, Memorandum of Agreement between the 96th Security Forces Squadron and the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida, and the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for establishing procedures for the Eglin Elementary School Resource Officer Program, presented by Danny Dean, Program Director, Safety, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. 7.28, waiver of the OCEA master contract requested by the Okaloosa STEM Academy to waive the daily planning period requirement for the 2023-2024 school year, presented by Cherie Martin, Principal of Okaloosa STEM Academy. 7.29, Choctawhatchee High School, Crestview High School, Fort Walton Beach High School, and Niceville High School course adoption for the 2023-2024 school year, presented by Denise Berry, Program Director of Curriculum, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. 7.30, Okaloosa STEM Academy course adoptions for 2023-2024 school year, presented by Denise Berry.
Madam Chair, if we can go back to 7.29, I apologize, but I just wanted to comment on that particular course, Global Logistics and Supply Chain Tech course adoption. I mean, this isn't yesterday's school. I can tell you that. That's really interesting because of how global everything is going with, especially the supply chain. We've already seen how the pandemic affected the supply chain, and it's still affecting us. So I think this is an awesome course for these students to get involved in, and I see it's offered at 4 schools, so awesome.
I think that brings us to the last item in Section 7, 7.31, Motor Vehicle Lease Agreement for Disaster Transportation Services between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida, and Belvedere Commons of Fort Walton Beach, presented by Jay McGinnis, Program Director, Transportation. And that brings us to Section 7, Superintendent's Human Resources Recommendation. 8.1 is information only, employees on administrative leave. 8.2, information only, deferred retirement option program, drop. 8.3, request to advertise a public hearing for adoption of a new job description for Central Office Administrative Assistant Supervisor, presented by Lee Hale, Assistant Superintendent for HR. 8.4, request to advertise a public hearing for adoption of a new job description for Director, Human Resources. 8.5, request to advertise a public hearing for adoption of a new job description for truancy official. 8.6, request to advertise a public hearing for adoption of a new job description for SIS ERP Focus Analyst. 8.7, employee separations. 8.8, personnel recommendations. 8.9, employee transfers.
Excuse me, can I interrupt there? I was just wondering, we're talking about employee transfer and everything. Of course, Dr. Hale, did you want to put in a plug about the job fair? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
While we're talking about employees and kind of how it's going and what kind of interest you're already seeing, because I imagine there's some.
Well, and I do appreciate that. Good morning. I was anticipating that question today, as a matter of fact. We do have our job fair coming up this Saturday, April 1st. We're looking forward to it. We currently have 78 registrants already.
Oh, good.
Which is great, and we always get a big push the last week as we start to increase our marketing as well. And among the 78 current registrants, 54 in the instructional realm, which is great.
Great.
And, or I should say that the registrants were able to click instructional or support depending on what they're interested in. Some have varying interests, and so 54 put their hat in the ring for instructional, and 36 have included support as well. And then there's some other things that people have mentioned, like one's a principal moving down, and then there's some people that are interested in subbing and things along those lines. But we're looking forward to it. It's from 9 to 11. Right next door at Edge Elementary this Saturday, and we'll continue to push and get more people in there, and our principals are looking forward to coming, and we're looking forward to meeting some new employees.
So is it something they have to pre-register for, or can they just
Well,
show up?
We would prefer it, but obviously we'll take walk-ins, and we'll do what we can for those people, and we'll get them in the appropriate category when they get there in terms of, we're very meticulous and structured and strategic about how we run candidates through the day, whether they come with a certification already, perhaps from another state, if they're a career changer, or if they're just coming to explore the possibilities in our support realm. There's all kinds of different ways to travel through the fair, and so people come and present themselves, we'll handle them accordingly.
I like that even maybe they're just thinking, oh, I might want to see what that's about, or that's open to that. They don't have to come with a specific plan.
That's right.
You
If they
can
come
talk
with
to
a
'em.
plan, that's great. If not, we can definitely see where their
Provide
interests
them
lie,
one.
where their aptitudes are, and start doing a little matchmaking.
Great, good.
And at what age is somebody the age?
Okay, so
Because that was
with a high
asked.
school diploma, you can come right in at age 18 and be a support worker. Obviously, there's no age requirement by law.
Right, I just
If you
need the
fulfilled
18,
the
right.
minimum requirements for each of the job responsibilities, well, come one, come all. So.
And they can do part-time also? There's possibly?
Well, we're not. We don't really want to get into the
Okay.
weeds with part-time versus full-time right now, because we're going to try to do what we
Full-
can first to meet
okay.
the needs of each individual school and kind of do some matchmaking with the interests and the aptitudes and capabilities of each candidate. So if part-time lends itself and that's appropriate, then that might be a conversation. But right now, we're just trying to find out who's out there and match them with school needs. So.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you,
Very
appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, that brings us to 8.10, employee suspension, and 8.11, reinstatement or reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical exam, presented by Dr. Hale. 8.12, leave without pay, presented by Dr. Hale. That brings us to item 9, discussion agenda. We have none at this time. Section 10, 10.1 would be our report by the board's representative, Mr. Bryant.
And we have a meeting scheduled for our next board, right after our next board workshops, and I know we'll have some great information to present to you, to the board. that night regarding some possible savings. And also, with it being spring break, there was a lot of work going on in the schools, especially the ones I saw on the north end. A lot of activity, but if you go by a few of the schools, you can start seeing things are really progressing, and especially with these multi-purpose centers, you're starting to see them really progress. And like at Crestview with the classroom addition, I mean, it's really taken off now. So great work for everybody there in spring break. I know a lot of stuff was getting done during the spring break week. So
Good. So 10.2, program number 6, task order number 21, GMP for Longwood Elementary School classroom renovation. And that brings us to section 11. Mr. McGinnis.
No report this morning.
And section 12, 12.1, out-of-state student trip request, and 12.2, correspondence request and other matters from the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair and School Board. I wanted to start off by saying I want to welcome everybody back from spring break. It's a time to rejuvenate, but we also had a number of folks who were also working all last week and appreciate their efforts. I want to start off by saying there's a lot that's going on across the school district, and we've talked extensively about the capital projects, whether that be from the half-cent sales tax funds or whether that be from our actual capital project. But within there's also the school buses that we've spoken about. About 3 years ago, we were deemed the oldest bus fleet in the state of Florida, and that's not the title that we wanted to have. So we've worked, and we actually have a school bus replacement program now, and as you know, we had about 60 buses purchased, and we have 15 more that are going to come in. And I just want Mr. Horton just to come up just for a second, kind of share where we are in that process.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers, board members. So he's kind of said it all. So the 15 buses that were part of our 22-23 capital outlay budget, the current year that we're in, were ordered back in the fall. They should arrive at the end of April. Then we outfit them with cameras and all the equipment that we need to, so they'll be ready to go for the start of school year. We're also beginning to formulate our capital budget for the upcoming year, looking at the funds available. So we've committed to a replacement cycle where we'll purchase in the range of 15 buses each school year, so that our fleet of buses in operation every day, which is about 180 to 185, we want to make sure that we have buses that are not allowed to get so old that we, again, have that designation of oldest bus fleet in the state. So we're on a good track for that. I think that we'll bring to you in the capital budget for the upcoming year another 15 buses to purchase, which would give us 90. So we're really making great headway in the past few years.
I have a question for Mr. Horton regarding, so I know all of us, when we see a school bus, of course, we'll look, and the new ones definitely stand out. I just am curious, with the 15 that we're purchasing this year and the 15 next year, is that our plan is 15? Is that what you
The
said?
capital budget for the next school
Yes.
year, right?
So will this finally get us to above 2007, which is, these are the buses that all have air conditioning in them?
So I think we might still be a little bit away from 100% air conditioning
Okay.
with the upcoming capital budget, but we are getting close. We're getting
Okay.
very close.
So are we looking at the routes with these buses, especially the ones that might be longer, to make sure that they get those, especially during the hot months where they get the air-conditioned buses? Are we looking at?
Yes, sir, I know that.
And I
Mr.
understand the shorter routes probably will be okay with not having them right now.
And Jay will look at that each year when those buses come in to make sure that we're kind of putting that where they're most needed.
Right.
To answer your question, yes, sir.
And then one additional, Mr. Horton, sometimes folks might say, why not just purchase 50 buses right now? Why not just replace the entire fleet right now? And we get that question, so kind of explain the rationale of the 15.
Sure, just the replacement cycle. What we wouldn't want to do is purchase 80 buses now and then 12, 14, 15 years from now have to purchase 80 buses again. So it makes sense to do this planned in a progression that keeps our fleet to where we're only purchasing maybe 10 to 15 buses a year going forward to keep those things. And the other thing I'd say about school buses is, there are a lot of school buses. We get lots of calls about school buses and certain things, and in many cases, they're not actually public school district buses. So You might see other things on the side of a bus. If it says Okaloosa County School District on the side of the bus, then you know it's ours. Otherwise, it's probably a private school or maybe even a charter school bus. So not every bus you see on the road is an Okaloosa County School District bus. We get calls every once in a while about that.
Anybody else?
I think it,
Good job.
And a few other announcements. As you know, or as you might know, we're in what we call the second semester push. And, you know, new standards, new assessment, and I just want to thank Ms. Lightborn and her group for the work that they've done with our teachers in schools and helping folks with the new standards, with the new assessment. Anytime that we go to something new, there's always challenges. You know, we've taken PM1, which was done in the September-ish timeframe. We've taken the PM2, that progress monitoring test, in the January timeframe. And now what's good is we're able to look at that data, make instructional decisions. As you know, we have iReady as well, and we look at that data as well and then make instructional decisions. So for Okaloosa, you know, we have two sets of data that goes down to the teacher level, down to the student level, where teachers, principals can discuss the next course of action. And Mrs. Lightborn and her group has done a great job working with principals, working with teachers in that effort. And I just want to say thank you on that. Also, our instructional coaches, they're working hard. They're in classrooms with teachers. As you know, we have a large number of new teachers, and a large number of those new teachers didn't go to school to be a teacher. And we're very appreciative that they're making the decision to join what I believe is the best profession that you can join. But with that also comes the need of support. And our instructional coaches are doing a good job there. And just for your information, the PM3, the Progress Monitoring 3 test, which is equivalent to the FSA, that window opens May 1st. So about a month to go, and schools are doing a lot in terms of that second semester push. Also, just want to share with you, the month of April has two areas that we'll be highlighting. One is Month of the Military Child. And as you know, we have about 5,700 students who have active duty parents. And then think of the number of students that we have that the parents are retired as well. So as you know, we're a huge military community, so we'll be celebrating this. As you also know, all of our schools are Purple Star schools. So these are some of the activities that also support that venture. And then be sure to check it out on social media, and you'll see what we're doing throughout the school district. Also, this is a month for autism awareness. So we will be doing a lot with autism awareness as well. Ms. Ard and her group will be working with Mrs. Demers to get information out. Also working with our schools just to highlight those students and the great work that our staff does with those students as well. I do want to say we've already spoken about the job fair, but I want to thank Dr. Hale and his group. This isn't something that just starts a month ago. This is many, many, many months in the making, and he and his team have done a great job leading up to April 1st, so I just want to say thank you on that. As you know, we are in a teacher shortage, not just in Okaloosa County, but across the nation. And this also enables us to get out there and get some teachers, get some support staff ahead of the game. There are many districts who have done this for a while. Some have already hired, so we didn't do this before. So getting in the game at this point, I think, is very important. On the instructional side, we are very mindful of the instructional allocations that we do hand out in terms of hiring. Mr. Horton's already going through that process right now, sitting one-on-one with every single school and saying, this is how many allocations you'll have next year. And then they'll know at the hiring fair, do I have the ability to hire somebody? So all of that is monitored very closely, and I just appreciate Mr. Horton working with Ms. Perry on that and others. We're continuing to monitor our legislative priorities as well as just the legislation just in general. I will say there's more taking shape with the budget. As you know, the governor's already put his budget out, but now the House and the Senate have their runs out as well. Ms. Perry is doing a very good job of putting those numbers together. We're continuing to meet in terms of us finalizing our budget for the upcoming school year, which will be ready for the May timeframe. But I do want the board to know that even as early as this morning, still on the phone with our local legislators as it pertains to the budget and other items of importance to us. I do want to share with you, we're continuing our coffee with the superintendent. So we're meeting with parents and really getting good input from them. We've already had two of those meetings, and we're continuing that starting tomorrow. But I do want to share, just for your information, so tomorrow we're meeting with some Fort Walton Beach parents, so they'll be here in this facility right here. But upcoming dates will be Crestview secondary parents on April 18th, and then elementary parents on May 17th, and then Fort Walton Beach elementary parents April 26th. So we're continuing that. And then I do want to say as well, as you remember, a couple of years ago, Ms. Ivanchek approached me and said, hey, why don't we go out and meet with some students at our local schools. And we went over to Baker. We had a great chat with a number of students, and that went really well. We also then went over to Crestview after that. So I call this almost the Ivanchek rule of we're now doing what we call some fireside chats. So we're going to be going to our different high schools and just meeting with students and talking with them, getting their thoughts on how things are going, things that they'd like to see happening in our schools, and just kind of pick their brains. So very excited about that. And then lastly, I just want to say definitely condolences go out to our Okaloosa County Sheriff's office in the loss of one of their SROs, Colin Corain. Definitely he was a SRO of the year and will be sorely missed. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So that brings us down to Section 13, Board Members' Announcements, Requests for Information. So let's start with Ms. Gardner.
Thank you. I was going to mention the job fair, but Dr. Held did a very nice job
Yeah.
presenting that, and look forward to hearing how that all turns out. And Mr. Chambers, you mentioned the fireside chat. I think this coming Friday we are going to be Fort Walton Beach High School, so I look forward to. Is that the first one? Have you done one yet? I'm sorry.
The fireside chat, this will be the first one. I was thinking about the parent meeting. So
Okay,
fireside
right.
chat, first one.
I look forward to hearing what our students at Fort Walton Beach High School have to say.
Absolutely.
That's all for right now.
Thank you. Ms. Ivanchek.
That's it?
Well, I got tonight
Oh,
also.
you got tonight, okay. I was sitting here
She'll
like,
have her
listen,
list.
well, thank you for giving me credit on that. That was the year that it had been a year since those students had been out with the COVID situation, and I just felt like it would be to our advantage. And as you and I know, we were sure what to expect, but they didn't hold back, did they?
They did not.
They put us on, and so they put us on the fire seat. That's true. So, and I just think it's good to hear from those students, and it's amazing the things that they think through. That give us some good ideas and so forth. So that's great. I'm looking forward to it again too. It'll be fun. All right, couple of things I have. First of all, of course, I want to talk a little bit about our Okaloosa Public Schools Foundation, and I have talked about it before, but just to remind the public that we do have a wonderful foundation that's very strong and supportive of our schools, and we have several different functions with the foundation. One is the Take Stock in Children program, where students get a scholarship, and we have that really going. We have new students coming in. We're graduating about 14. And we're adding some more, and they get a 2-year scholarship when they complete that program to a higher level university. So anyway, but to make that work, we have to have mentors. There is that piece of the whole plan that you have to have a mentor. So we are actively seeking mentors, and don't let that scare you off, because it doesn't take that much time, and you don't have to really have any experience. What we want are caring, supportive adults to be positive role models with these students. And you can do it in an hour a week. It doesn't even have to be every single week, but just to have another adult speak with these students and support them, talk with them, encourage them, share some of your experiences. So if you would like to be a mentor, please call the office there with Debbie Tate and let her know. The process is very easy, but we would like to have those mentors. The other thing is that we raise funds to help teachers with what we call mini grants. And so to do that, we have fundraisers. And one of the fundraisers we have coming up is a pickleball tournament. How's your pickleball Mr. Bryant?
Give me a jar of kosher dills. I'm good. Oh, that's not one.
That's a whole nother thing. But we do have a tournament on April 28th through the 30th. We're looking for not only players, but if you're saying like Mr. Bryant that you're not quite up to the tournament level yet, we certainly need sponsors, corporate sponsors, individual sponsors to, and with that, we use those funds to do mini grants for teachers who have great ideas that have no other source of funding to do these projects in their classrooms. So if you're interested, or maybe you want to get a team up from your a workplace, we would love to hear from you. If you'd contact Debbie Tate at 833-5856, we would love to have you part of the pickleball tournament coming up at the end of April. One more thing I'd like to mention has to do with scholarships. And there are numerous scholarships out there, and many of them come from local organizations. For example, I'm in the Fort Walton Beach Women's Club. We give some scholarships. But I think sometimes, and the schools are very good about getting the information out, but oftentimes, students don't quite get all that information home. So I just want to remind parents that all the schools have listings of scholarships that are available. And scholarships don't just go to the top person in the class. There are a variety of ways students can get scholarships. And sometimes I hear from community organizations that no one applies, that they go unused. And sometimes they're the smaller numbered, but I tell you, $1,000, I'd take it.
It all adds up.
It all adds up. So remind students it's kind of like getting a gift card. You can use those. So there's a lot of scholarships. So please check your students' school's website and the newsletters. These principals do elaborate newsletters that go out, and check for scholarships. Don't let these go unused, because it's a shame to have that money brought out, especially by the community, and no one take advantage of it. So just wanted to give that out to parents as we're approaching April, and that would be some scholarship time. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evanchik. Mr. Bryant?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. My only announcement really is before spring break, I was in Tallahassee for 2 days as the legislative liaison for the school board and with Florida School Boards Association, and I had an opportunity to meet with 2 of our representatives. I had meetings lined up with the senators, but unfortunately they got caught in an all-day session, so I was unable to meet with them, but I was able to share with their staff some concerns that we had with especially teacher retention, how we would love to see them extend that to support, and there were some other things that were going on out there, but really it's always neat to go to the Capitol and experience everything that goes on. I'll just tell you that it was a 2-hour drive home where you just go, you just, it's really a lot on your mind, because there's a lot of things that are going to be moving through that are going to put a challenge on the school district, and but it was a great experience. And then also Thursday I will be in Tampa for the weekend, representing on the executive committee for the Florida School Board Association, the first ever consortium of state school boards association. This is the new group that 23 state school board associations did away with the National School Board Association and formed a new organization, and I'm really excited to see what's on the table. I can tell you from what I've seen so far, it's not going to be nothing like the National School Board Association. I think it's something I'll be able to bring back a report, and I think we'll be happy to see the direction that they're planning on going. But there's 23 states that will be there, and our first meeting is in Tampa this weekend. So I'm excited to represent not only Florida School Board Association, but you, my colleagues on the school board for the Okaloosa County. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Dr. White?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and as my colleagues know, District 1, Choctawhatchee is on the agenda, and so I'll be reserving my remarks for tonight.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
All right, so I just have a couple of things to say. We do want to extend our condolences to the families of 2 of our former very well thought of employees, Wanda Avery and Dale Walker. And we know that those are great losses to those families, and they were certainly great contributors to the education here in Okaloosa County. And with that, I'll ask Patrick, do you have anything to say? Anything to add? Greg? Jordan? Anything from the staff, district staff, that we might have missed? Okay. That will bring us down to section 14 tonight, public comment, the yellow card edition. And then public hearing tonight, we have some items there. 15.1 will be public hearing for adoption of revised School Board Policy 04-22, School Health Services, Student Illnesses, presented by Terry Schroeder, Program Director of Student Services. 15.2, public hearing for adoption of revised School Board Policy 04-24, Student Injuries, presented by Terry Schroeder. 15.3, public hearing for adoption of revised School Board Policy 04-25, administering medicines to students. And 15.4, public hearing for adoption of revised School Board Policy 11.20, tobacco products on school property, presented by Terry Schroeder, Program Director, Student Services, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Anything else from anyone else?
I do have a question about our vaping, anti-vaping program. I know some's come out. How's that rolling out?
So I think it's still fairly new, but I think things are rolling out well. Definitely communication with the schools in terms of them also then communicating with their families and students. We're still in the process of the vaping detection devices. So Mr. Horton and his group are going through that, let's call it a process, in order to get them installed. But I think by the end of the school year / end of the summer, we should have all of those installed. And I think it's interesting when you read this stuff with these vaping devices and how it's impacting students just across the nation. I think it's vital that not only do we get these things installed, but more importantly, that we continue to get information out to the students and to families so they can make smart choices.
And I would assume that that might be a topic on your parent meetings that you might be bringing up.
I think there, as well as I think it's something that we
Students.
bring up when we meet with the students as well.
Great, thank you.
So can I follow up on
Certainly.
that? So, Ms. Vancheck, I'm glad you asked that question of Mr. Chambers. So, one of the things within the Florida School Board Association is, of course, the networking opportunities. And because of Mr. Chambers' leadership and his team's forethought on getting this campaign going, I know there's been at least 2 school districts, Charlotte for one, for sure, that has contacted us about implementing the same program that we
Oh,
have
that's
here.
terrific.
So I know people look at our district as a leader in this particular situation. So, so I thought that was a great thing for our school district, that they're calling us to find out what we're doing. So, Mr. Chambers and your team, thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, that's great, thank you.
Always. Anything else for the good of the order? With that, this meeting is adjourned.